To the Honorable Rick Brewer, Chairman, and members of the Hawkins County Board of Commissioners, the regular session met this 28th day of September 2020. Resolution reference budget amendment, general capital projects fund. I so move.
Motion by Commissioner Fields. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Edens. Any discussion? Commissioner Harrell.
Can somebody give me a breakdown with this $425,000 in?
Jamie, you want to come up?
After numerous solutions was given to the Public Safety Board on communication system.
Pull your mask off.
After numerous presentations to the Public Safety Committee, this is the recommendation of that committee for a replacement radio system, which would be a complete radio system from the antennas to the plug, from the wall where the devices are plugged in. Be a similar system to what we have. There's been a lot of weaknesses identified in the system that we have now, and this is what the Public Safety Committee is pushing for. I'll answer any other questions that you may have.
So that's just for the antennas down, is that what you're saying on all three towers?
That is correct. Once your radio system leaves the power of the building, which is generator and conventional power, comes into those buildings, it'd be a replacement from that plug all the way to the tip of the antenna, which is every device in it. There's been weaknesses identified in the antenna systems and the combiner systems, which gets into a lot of technical details that have been in these presentations.
So how much are you expecting to get from this CDBG grant?
That grant's for $250,000. I spoke with the company today that's taking care of that grant. That grant's still not been denied. There's no foreseeable if we will get that or not. They can't predict that at this point, but it has not been denied, which is obviously better than having a denial. And I was updated on that 2 hours ago, and that's what he was able to tell us. That office has obviously been slow due to COVID.
So if you don't get the 250, you're planning on taking it out of the undesignated fund balance?
That'll be a question for the budget committee and their chair.
Capital fund.
Well, it says undesignated fund balance right here. Underneath, where it's right now.
Do what?
Capital project, I think is what we.
Yeah, it should be.
That was my understanding as well. I don't know more about that.
Eric said the money was in there.
So you're taking the whole 250 capital away. You don't get the grant.
Yeah.
The other 250 is going to capital away out.
Yeah.
I will say, just for information purposes, this system continues to give additional problems to the point you can visibly see some of these towers and not be able to get into them.
So with this money, does this fix the problem?
It will. There's a lot of questions about coverage from one end of the county to another. Coverage and connectivity is two different things that have been addressed to public safety, and they feel like this is the best solution, the most feasible, the most economic. Is this a $10 million system? Absolutely not. But they feel it'll fulfill those needs with all the information that they've been presented.
So you gonna be requesting any more money after this, or is this the fix?
This is an estimate of $425,000. There's not anything foreseen that would be an issue for that. There's always unforeseeable things that could come up, but at this time I don't see anything that would come up. Also, we're going to be looking at adding an additional site to the north, wherever that would be needed. We've had some people contact us that may be interested in donating some land. Obviously, we need to see where the sites we have now, what type of coverage we get out of those to see where that would best be suited. There'll also be license and stuff that comes with that. All this has been explained to public safety, and that'll determine where that site's best suited.
Commissioner Speaks.
I think you kind of answered my question, but just I I don't always feel that the cheapest is the best, so you do feel that this will fix our problem in the county?
I feel it would greatly improve it, and I feel like from where we're at now, even if we went with a bit more expensive system, we would have to do this to get us by until that system could be built. The other system's tapped, all this has been given to public safety. Just to implement that system will take years.
Commissioner Barrett?
Jeremy, I know in times past, there's been some discussion about on the previous system, when it went down, we didn't have, if I understand it correctly, we didn't have spare parts on the hand at that time to get the system up and running. Do we currently have spare parts if we was to go down?
Not for a failure, we would look to a vendor for those repeaters. If we had a failure tonight, we'd look to a vendor for those supplies. Would we have spare parts for this? We should have some of our old system, and we'd be able to save 4 spares, the better ones. There's multiple components that go into this. Typically, a repeater or power amplifier would be what would go bad unless you took the light and structure, took the whole side out.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Gibson?
You answered one of my questions already when you mentioned about looking at maybe another tower. My main question is, from the time we approve this, how long will this take for this system to be operational?
It'd be hard to give an exact estimate for that due to COVID. I've had vendors tell me anywhere from like 4 months estimate, but that was prior to COVID. I've not, this will be a bid project that'll also add some delay into it. So to give an exact time frame, all those estimates were prior to COVID.
With the 4 months you mentioned, was that with the bid process or without the bid?
That was from the time they had to go, so that was a week to
So
go.
don't include it?
Yes.
Thank you.
And he said typically it would be less than that, but all electronics are in supply issues at the moment, shipping issues. I would imagine these will be no different.
Commissioner Tyler?
Sitting in on some of the meetings that we've had in the past, the discussion is that we're spending this additional $425,000, and we're back at the same point where we're at now, where they can't get out in certain areas, and I'm just not the type to throw money after bad stuff.
I disagree with that. The point we're at now is near failure. As an example, in your district, Highway 113 and Russell Road, you can nearly see the lights on the Channel 2 transmission towers, and you can't get into that repeater site with a hand.
So what's changed from where you were saying?
There's currently a failed antenna system installed, and there's a combiner device that's eating about half the power on those repeaters up, just in loss.
So when I talked to my deputies, in the area there, and it had been a month ago, I have deputies telling me their coverage is worse than someplace.
Oh, I guarantee you.
Nothing.
I guarantee it. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You guys speak up, I'm sorry.
I said I guarantee it, that's exactly what I'm saying.
You're saying it's better.
No, I'm saying it's worse.
Oh.
I'm saying they're near
But
failure.
now, so what's this, money gonna do for,
Replace failed parts and failed system. That's, the system we have now is near failure. I mean, when you're to the point that you're looking at the tower and can't get into it, coverage gets no worse. Other than failure.
Commissioner Martin?
And I was just at a community meeting with Clinch, and they're saying the same thing. They're having a terrible time getting out with anything, fire, police, and so is this gonna address their issue over there
It will
in
great-
Norrisburg?
It will greatly improve that coverage. The site now that covers that is Short Mountain. We pay a lease on that site that's roughly $20,000. That's never been at its full capacity. That site on mobile radios nearly covers the whole county. That would be added into this. Obviously, if you're paying a lease on that site, you want that to be a transnet site, especially when it's the highest elevation site in our county.
Okay, one of the things that they had said was that someone had talked to some people over there about purchasing some land. And at that meeting, there were some people who said they might be willing to donate land if they knew what land you were looking for.
The
So-
mayor's office has been contacted by some
Okay,
people.
so are we, that's what I need to know, are we pursuing that, and are we gonna get something over there for them?
We will with this. I feel the 4 sites we have now, we need to get online as quickly as possible. Like I say, because we're going into a failure scenario, that'll also give us a better analysis of which areas over there have trouble. The areas that I predict myself will have trouble in those areas is Highway 70 north and Clinch Valley north of that intersection. Because of the way Short Mountain's situated, that's the areas furthest from it. That's also the areas that geographically are just hard to get into due to the valleys and the hilltops.
So I would be safe if they asked me that this is going to alleviate some of their problems.
I feel so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Trent?
My question was answered.
Commissioner Thacker?
That, $425,000 that decreased here coming from undesignated fund balance. If we got the $250,000 grant, would that $250,000 grant be coming minus coming off the 425?
I would imagine so, but that's a question for finance.
Well, I mean, you're going up 250,000.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the way it
Above
would
the
be.
425, or you're coming down. What I'm getting at.
My understanding, the grant would take precedent in paying, and we would pay the rest of it. That's my understanding.
That's my understanding of what was said in that.
That's what I was thinking.
Again, I don't run that budget, so.
Commissioner Harrell?
This is a question for somebody on the budget committee. Since you're taking this money out of capital layout, what are we taking away to take this money? What ain't we gonna do or whatever?
There's nothing.
I don't know that we're taking anything away.
So we've got this much money sitting in capital layout, and then we go negative in the budget this past month.
There's some money in the capital outlay, yes. I can't tell you exactly what's in there, but there are some other projects they have been talking about, and I don't know what they are. I don't remember offhand. I know a roof, discussing a roof at the Justice Center.
Backing money away for that. We're putting money back for that in the future.
The money is being put back for that, but as far as what we're taking away from, nothing that I know of.
If you'll recall, the 2 cents that was removed from the school system because of reduction in student population, those 2 cents were put in capital projects. They were put there essentially as a safeguard because we knew if they went into general fund, believe it or not, they'd be blown. So that's why it's putting in into capital projects to somewhat safeguard it. So it's going to be whatever project trumps the other as far as necessary need. And we've got a laundry list of necessary needs.
So, if needed to, if we got in a situation we had to raise taxes, can we take it 2% out and put it back in the general fund?
You're going
2
to
cents.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now, and this will be shock therapy. You're going to raise taxes. You have to raise taxes. You have to, no choice. There was a game plan implemented, and that game plan was completely and totally derailed. You are going to raise taxes. No ifs, ands, buts. Your only saving grace is the fact that this is a reappraisal period. So more than likely, if you go back 10 years over all the budgets, the reappraisal period, the state comes back and says you can reduce your
tax levy by so many cents. That's why if you go back and look at all the tax levies, you see this fluctuation. So they'll say, you can reduce it. Well, what you really want to do technically is you would say, okay, if they're going to allow us to reduce taxes by 10 cents, we're gonna reduce it, I'm just making up numbers, by 3 cents. So you essentially got a property tax increase of 7 cents. So it's a property tax increase, but historically, what everybody does is they go back and they look at that property tax levy. They don't understand that it fluctuates. They think, oh, we paid our property tax levy 20 years ago was at this amount. Well, believe it or not, you go and look, and it was a whole lot higher several years back. And that's the reason that a reassessment readjusts that revenue. So I hate to break the bad news, but because of what was done, you're raising taxes, or you're going further into the red. There's no way around it.
So to answer my question, can we take the 2 cents back out of capital layout and put it back in general fund if
You
needed?
don't want to do, Mike, I'll tell you why you don't want to do that, because that 2 cents was taken from the school system because student reduction in population, and they launched this program for virtual classes hoping that that would increase the population. So when that happens, you have to meet maintenance of effort, you're going to have to put more money back over. So if you take that 2 cents and you put it into the general fund, you're digging yourself a deeper hole.
I fully understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, if we're gonna end up raising taxes, if we can use this money, can we take it back out of capital layout?
You establish the tax levy right after you pass the budget. So you are totally at liberty to adjust that tax levy to whatever you think that you need to adjust it to. As long as you can meet the budget requirements and your debt service, you can adjust that to whatever you want to. So yeah, you can basically do whatever you want to do.
Is there any other discussion? If not, everyone cast your vote.
Commissioner House,
Yes.
thank you.
Civil left. He took everything.
We have 19 yes, 1 no, and 1 absent there.
Next item.